you treat people nice with respect, and you try to help them, they will help you.
It pays tenfold. It comes back to you tenfold.
I believe most people are good, and that's just the way I've always approached my life.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in so far. If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to and you're looking to scale your real estate portfolio, we have our Scalers Only Mastermind that is now open and accepting applications. So, if you'd like to join the family, be a part of the community, and scale your business, all you got to do is click the link below. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Scalers Only Show, where we talk real estate, business, lifestyle, and everything in between. Today, I got my man, Mr. Tim Herriage. And before I give you a proper intro, I would
Texas
just like to
Tim.
read.
Howdy.
Texas Tim?
Texas Tim.
We're going to go with Texas Tim on that.
I love that.
Tim Herriage is the executive director, RCN Capital, and host of the Uncontested Investing Show. Tim is a professional real estate investor, has done well past 1,000 deals, and a very great entrepreneur. For 2 decades, Tim has been on the leading edge of the real estate investor REI space. This includes being the founder of 2020 REI Group, co-founder and managing director of Blackstone's, that's right, Blackstone's B2R Finance, now Finance of America, founder of the REI Expo, which I did attend back in 2013, and we're going to get into that, as well as a franchise and development agent for Homevestors of America. Tim has completed well over $3 billion with a B, not an M, with a B, in real estate investment transactions. These transactions include the acquisition of more than 2,000 houses, more than 1,500 apartment units, and more than 100,000 square feet of commercial space, and more than 20,000 loans to real estate investors. And I'm done.
You want a water or something?
Take a breath. take a drink.
Did I do okay?
You didn't stutter once.
You're like Eminem when you did that.
I did?
Yeah.
You
Good
should
stuff.
look at my battle rap career.
No.
Let's run it back.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me,
man.
bud.
Absolutely, man. Great to have you. So, let's start from the beginning, man. What even got you into real estate? Let's start there.
So, 22 years ago, almost to the day, got out of the Marine Corps.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Lots of reasons I got out of that, but I just wanted to be a family man. You know, I was tired of traveling the world and doing all those things, and
Sounds terrible.
watching people die.
No, that's sorry.
I was leading with the nice part.
Yeah.
So I went back to Texas, where I was from. Sold life insurance for the first year. Learned sales. Learned about living paycheck to paycheck and running out of gas and having your cell phone disconnected, like waiting for the next commission check.
Call me on the weekend minutes, please. After 7 p.m. I'll pick up.
I know, right? Like I've literally been the guy that has been in the cell phone store parking lot, counting change to put it in the machine at the old Sprint PCS store to get the phone turned back on, right? Like, and then I put my resume on this website called militaryhire.com, and a guy that was flipping houses in Dallas hired me to be his project manager, and that would have been right at the end of 2001. So here we are 22 years later, project manager, same career path that so many of us take people through in our little acquisitions businesses. I was the project manager, then I learned acquisitions, then I learned dispositions, then I went and worked for a competitor, then I went out on my own, then I bought a house from a realtor. Interesting enough, 18 years ago tomorrow, and the joke is she assigned it to me, then I assigned it to someone else, and I made more money than she did, so we got married to keep it all in the family.
Hold up, so you daisy chained your first deal for more money, and then
your
ended up with
future
marriage
wife.
on the back end.
Well, it wasn't my first deal, but it was her first assignment ever.
Ooh.
I took the upper hand. There's a lot of jokes that we could probably turn that into, but we won't. I came out ahead. I don't know.
I'll keep them.
Can we blur out my logo during this section of the thing?
HR, beep, beep.
No, and so then I joined Homevestors, and then I was number one in the nation. And then the Great Recession happened, and then I lost millions and millions of dollars and barely stayed alive and married, both in conjunction with each other and separately. Came out of that, missed the Homevestors conventions, started the REI Expo, how we first met.
Yeah.
It was only meant to be a Dallas real estate annual trade show, turned into the largest national trade show. got me on some stages where I met the folks from Blackstone, sold the expo, started the B2R Finance, did a couple billion there, sold that, kept buying houses, kept meeting people. I told somebody the other day, my superpower, I'm a connector. I just love to meet people and see if I can add value and get to know them and listen intently. And it seems to keep paying forward.
When did you do your first billion?
Do what?
When was your first billion to cross that mark?
I would bet it was actually before B2R. If I there were years before the Great Recession that I was buying, fixing, and selling 140 to 180 houses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we weren't wholesaling at all. I mean, I had like 3 wrap trucks in the big office. We were spending $40,000 a month in advertising.
Just flips.
Yeah, and that was back in the no money down days. So, I mean, I'll never forget August 2007.
Stories, man.
Yeah, August 2007. I'm sitting in my office going over the monthly numbers, and the wires coming in were like it was like 1.5 or 2 million, and the money going out was like 3 to 4 million, somewhere in those ranges. I just remember seeing that I spent millions more than I made, and still had money left. And I just kind of leaned back in my chair, and I remember the thought going through my head: you are not qualified for this shit. Because I
Playing with millions.
Yeah, I didn't go to college. I mean, I did. I went to a bowling class, but I'm just a Marine guy that grew up in a construction family, and next thing you know, I'm running this business that's doing. The cool thing now is to say well over 8 figures a year in profit.
That's true.
So I don't know, like if you actually, and so many people interchange profit with actual sales volume.
Yeah, it's different.
I would guess I was doing 100, 200 million a year in sales volume. I mean, if it's 150 times 150, I don't know what that number is.
Right.
So I don't know when I crossed $1 billion. I've never counted. I learned really early in this business. You count what's left,
not what's coming in.
not what comes in. Yeah.
Like, oh shit.
As far as what's coming in, though, $1 billion's still a big mark. Because then you're playing with millions.
Broke.
So when did you decide that you wanted to stop doing that?
Which part? The buying houses?
Yeah, well,
I still do.
Flipping on like a mass scale.
Oh, well, I didn't decide. The mortgage market collapsed.
We can laugh. Right?
God basically told me I had to stop. No, so when in August of 2007 is when the subprime market collapsed in Wall Street. And literally, I'll never forget, I was on my way to Detroit for a mastermind, huge believer of masterminds and networking. And the guy that was hosting was a former investment banker from Wall Street. And I'm reading the USA Today and reading about all these mortgage companies that shut down. I don't understand it, right? I get there and I'm like, Jeff, what's this mean? He goes, we're effed. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he goes, we're effed. Sell everything. And I was just an idiot, so I listened to him, right? And so we had 38 vacant flips when that happened. And we lost a little over $1 million in fourth quarter that year. But it was because I listened to someone that I trusted and believed in that helped me ultimately avoid foreclosure and financial ruin, because my friends that didn't listen,
Tried to stick it
out, are the ones that still had the 30 or 40 houses vacant when April of 2008 hit.
Shit.
And that was
Much worse.
Yeah. Guys that had done 200, 300 houses the year before, bankrupt, homeless, divorced, selling life insurance
it's
now.
so crazy how many of those stories you hear too. I mean, and then divorce comes after. Next thing you know, they got to start over. They can't start over for another, 6-7 years.
Yep. Foreclosure.
You know? It's wild.
So I never decided I didn't want to flip anymore. But now
The universe decided for you.
Yeah, right.
But God did.
But now where I'm at is, I mean, my acquisitions company, I call it small. Some people say it's not. We'll do 50 this year. Mainly wholesale, except for every time we get a contract, they email it over to me and my wife, and I tell her if I think it would make a good rental or Airbnb, and she looks at it and decides if it's a project that she wants to be in charge of.
How it should be.
Yeah, she
right?
enjoys the business. She loves especially the Airbnb side. We do a lot of midterm rental, and love to talk about that.
Yeah.
She likes furnishing the houses. She likes that we'll buy an $800,000 house instead of the 120 that you're just whitewashing. and there's no creativity in it.
Gray washing.
Gray washing.
Gray floors.
It is
walls
gray washing
everywhere.
now.
So she like
2017.
Eggshell gray.
Yeah.
2017, Jennifer comes to me. We're doing this cool house in East Dallas, and she's like, "We're going to paint the walls gray." And I'm like, "What the are you talking about?" So at this
one likes
point
that
in my
color.
career, we had gone from bright white
Yep.
to kill 'em beige
Remember that. Remember that.
to now we're at gray, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about?"
And now, like,
Now it's gray
everyone
with one
hates
black
gray,
wall.
right?
You gotta have one black wall now wherever you do.
And we
something.
paint cabinets blue.
Gray and white trim.
But that looks good
I
too.
like
Gold
the
with
blue.
gold accents.
Gold
right?
accents, the brass that we used to tear out and throw away.
So dark blue cabinets I do. I love.
That's what I've got.
One
on
day I
mine.
want to pull up
I
hardwood
understand.
floors and find carpet underneath it. That's my next goal.
Pour up carpet and then find hardwood.
No, other way around, because that's what we do now. That's going to be the next thing. You're going to pull up hardwood and be like, oh my god, there's carpet underneath this. Remember that stuff?
Ridiculous.
So then after the crash, how did your business pivot? Or how did you pivot?
We were very fortunate. My wife was a real estate agent, and she went to work for a big brokerage and got some REO accounts. And we live in a kind of wealthy town in Texas, so there were some buyers still for these significantly discounted houses. And I had that probably a 12-month episode of Ego Check where I became this stay-at-home dad. We had a young infant, and I wasn't making money, and she was, and so I stayed at home. And actually, it was one of those late nights in 2010 that I came up with the idea for the expo. Sitting there, feeling unfulfilled, wanting to do something different. I spent a lot of my time when she wasn't busy evicting people out of the crappy rent houses we had and selling those on owner finance. Because, well,
Exciting
that
in a
hits
different
home.
way.
well, yeah, I mean, it's just different because just like this last run up, I had kept the houses no one else wanted, right? If I put a house up for sale on the zero down ninja loan and no one bought it, I'd be like, oh, well, money's easy, money's cheap, I'll just
Yeah.
keep it. And so what I ended up with was this portfolio of houses that no one wanted. You know,
They
it
do
was
now.
the ones where the meth house was next door, or
You see
there was
that?
we bought crack houses.
that part of our life is
That's
done,
old.
okay?
He won't let me
That's
pick it back
I don't
up.
want to be on the
But
news.
Yeah, I mean, like the 3-bedroom, 1-bath with the garage conversion where the bus stop was in the front yard and
Yeah.
all the transients came in and out of.
Yeah.
So I spent most of 09. 08 was just a miserable existence.
For a lot of people.
I spent most of 09 evicting people out of houses, and then what we do is we would sell the house on owner finance, and to this date never got a foreclosure.
Congrats.
Man, it was just we'd get that down payment on owner finance and run to the bank to get the notes current, and then go do it with the next house, and then get that thing gone on owner finance, and then run to the bank and get the other notes
Isn't
current.
that what's great about real estate though? Like, is there's always a way to make money in any situation, in any market, just as long as you're able to pivot. You don't, like, I always compare like our business to a boat. Are you driving a Titanic, or are you driving a rowboat where you can make one pivot and boom, you're on to the next thing?
Boats cost a lot of money.
And they do. But, you know, if you're running this giant Titanic ship where you have all these houses, all this overhead, and all this shit, it's very hard to pivot.
Can't
Right.
pivot.
Right? And then you got fire everybody. It's too much, man. So, like, real estate to me is one of those businesses where if you can ride the waves and figure out what wave you need to ride at that point, like, you can be very, very successful in this business.
If you're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
Touche.
I mean, and so many people last in 2022 weren't willing to go do the work. They weren't willing to pivot mentally. They wanted to be that remote CEO of their remote wholesaling company, and
Such bullshit.
They jumped on the wave. When it's going up, everyone's going
Yeah.
to win. It's not very
Yeah.
hard, but on the
You're
way
starting
down,
to
that's
see
when you
that
gotta
again
persevere.
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know how you scale? Scale yourself.
Right.
Be a better leader. Be around. Figure out how to lead from the front. You know, and that's part of why we, you know, in Scalers Only, we preach that. Like, you can't be a remote CEO and scale and grow and do all those things. You can to a certain degree, and sometimes, like, we end up being arsonists in our own business because we're there too much. Or, you know, this is one of my problems personally is, you know, I'll come in and I want to come in and micromanage. I end up messing everything up, especially when you have good people. They don't want you there.
right.
They want you to stay the fuck out of their business, you know? So there is a balance with that, but it becomes about you being a better leader in your business than it does like trying to just scale your business to the moon and stars.
I was telling my son, I have a 22-year-old son that's in a flight school at Oklahoma State, and the other day,
How many hours he got?
he just finished his instrument rating, so
Nice.
he's into multi-engine now.
I have that.
Yeah.
He'll be a commercial pilot by the end of the year, and then he'll just need like another 500 hours to
They're
get.
in need of those right now, too.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
Big need.
I got mine in 2010, and that's when everyone was furloughed and nothing. I'm like, I wanted to use it, but not going to happen.
And it's hard for people to understand why the real estate millionaire would want his son to be have a job. I want my children to do what they enjoy with their time, because people like us were taught to make money with our hands, make money with our actions. I'm trying to teach my children to make money with money, and I'm going to have plenty of it. And I want them to learn to do what they love, and then come to me with business ideas. And I want to teach them the language of business is money, and I want to teach them how to run businesses and invest in other people. I use the example. A friend of mine in Pittsburgh, he said it's the jockey business. And it really is. We all start in this entrepreneurial world as the person that has to kind of shovel the shit in the stall. And the goal is to go from that to being the horse, to being the jockey, to being the guy that owns the horse,
It's an owner's box.
to being the guy that owns the track.
Yeah, you want to be the track owner.
You want to be the track owner.
You want to own the land.
because nobody knows their name.
Yeah.
But all the gambling that takes place, whichever horse wins or loses,
There's one guy above all
that dude gets paid.
The house
all
wins.
the time. He may not get
My
the
man
big.
took it one step further.
Do you have a horse
He
track
took
yet?
it another step.
He's like,
Well,
no, not
so
yet.
that's an interesting segue, because then how did RCN Capital get started? And is that because that's part of the natural progression?
That
we
kind of
talk
is the
about,
horse
at
track
some
owner in a
point-
way. You're getting
At
there.
some point, you want to be the bank.
Yeah, it's so funny. One of the times I pissed Blackstone off the most.
People
One
will
of the
love
times.
that.
Because it happened a lot.
The first time. No.
Please cut and edit this.
Yeah.
All right, go.
I said, so y'all are no different than any hard money lender ever. And they go, what do you mean? I go, every hard money lender I've ever met, they start buying houses and realize how damn hard that is and think, well, hell, let's just loan the money to the people that want to buy the houses. You can make just as much. So I joke about that, but RCN Capital was started 13 years ago, by Jeff Tesh, who's this founder and CEO, with an old college buddy of his. He had owned some Subway franchises and sold those, and he owned some rental property, and he's having lunch one day. It's the kind of Southwest Airlines story, right? And how can we make money off the housing crash? And Jeff, these hard money guys, they make some money. And so it started out as Rehab Cash Now was the original name. That's where RCN comes from.
Direct.
Yeah.
You get it with the name.
Yeah, and it was only a Connecticut, New England hard money lender.
You search that, you'll find that right away.
Yeah,
Like it.
and then he just, he grew the company diligently, and I met him. Actually, it was kind of funny on the way here today. LinkedIn told me that he and I had been
Friends for 15 years.
we had been connected for 9 years on
Really?
LinkedIn, and because I met him in early 2014, 13. I don't remember. Oh, 14, yeah. I met him at the Pitbull in early 2014.
Pitbull concert? He's a good rapper.
No, it's a conference about hard money.
They meant the bald guy.
So RCN, it grew organically. It grew diligently. We're a very stable company. We work with brokers and correspondent lenders and direct borrowers in 46 states now because Minnesota's back on. I had to look over at Sam in the corner. Sam's my fact check. He gave me the head nod, so we're good.
Phenomenal head of hair.
And now we crossed $1 billion for the first time ever with a B. Should I say that again?
I love it.
In
I love it.
2021,
Dude,
and
how good does that feel to say with a B though? Like that's some shit that like
I feel like it's significant.
significant.
I feel like it's significant, and we should say it more often because
It's another level, though. that treat like another level. You hit that, guess what? There's more to go.
Well, I think it inspires confidence in
Yeah.
our customers, right? Like, oh no, in 2021 we did 1.2 billion,
Right.
Wow.
and we did 1.5 in 2022 in a bad year, right? We grew 20-something% in a bad year,
That's the strength right there.
right? And we're going to grow again in 23 in a what's projected to not be a great year to be a lender, right? We're committed to being kind of the life cycle lender for investors. You know, whether it's your first fix and flip or you're doing a $10 million portfolio refi or you're buying a multifamily
I say
property.
the one-stop shop.
And you're going to be here forever,
we
it
do
sounds
hard
like.
money,
You've been through
we
the
do-
cycles. You ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you know, along with most people, there was a brief pause when the pandemic started, which is what
Pivot point.
3 years ago this
2020.
week. Next
Yeah,
week.
St.
Oh,
Patty's Day
yeah.
was when it happened.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
so
we had the
true.
Arnold Classic, man. That was like the first
down?
event
Yep.
that shut down.
Everyone's like, it's not going to shut down. What's this thing? No, it's fine. It's only 2 weeks. Oh, no,
Yeah,
it's
but
only
the
1 month.
nation shut down.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
and
went
so,
crazy.
I'll tell you an interesting story. After I light my cigar,
I'll get you another one.
an interesting story is I've bought, I don't know, it's around 2,000 houses, and I've only ever backed out on one contract.
You know it's crazy, man. Is the
And it was, hang on, it was the day COVID that they shut the nation down.
Oh, wow.
And I told my wife, I said, I have went into deals knowing I would lose money. But the scars I had from 08, I just had to, I had to back out of that one.
Because when you see the banks start tightening up, you're like, oh shit.
Then they shut the nation down.
You couldn't even go to the
We
bank.
were being
Forget the
told-
bank.
Yeah,
You
we
can't
were
leave
being
your
told we
house.
couldn't drive
Yeah.
without a letter.
Like, how am I going to get out of here?
If you're not an essential
seriously,
employee.
we thought it was martial law at that point.
Yeah, no, well, it kind
It was wild.
We're thinking of reasons to be able to leave the house, not how to work. It's like, wait, I got to leave the
Your
house.
event in 2013. That was one of the biggest things. You're like, you know what? I have never back. And I think it was the Texas real. I was like, why is there a Texas real estate, program at this thing? And I ended up going to it, and you were there. But one of the things I thought was very interesting that you said is you said, I have never backed out of a deal. I've done over 1,000 deals. I put on this event, this massive event. I've been there. I've done that. Been in the business forever, and I've never backed out of a deal.
Yeah.
And that's something I always took to heart. It's something I've always learned from you, is that you do what you say you're going to do, And there was deals that we had during COVID where I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? There's no lending. I can't go to the bank and even get a wire. I can't take my cash out. Like, what am I supposed to do?
We had contractors that said they weren't allowed to go to the house.
Yeah.
Like they literally, there was this 2 or 3 week period because we use a lot of people that may or may not have their green card in Texas, and because I'm not the immigration department, I don't check.
We're
that
filming
stuff.
in Mexico right now. This is not the United States of America.
Yeah. and they were afraid to drive because if they got pulled over and didn't have a letter from their employer
damn.
saying they were essential,
Yeah, it's hard.
they were afraid they would get deported. Like it was that 2 weeks of just what the hell?
Well, technically, they couldn't get deported either because you can't leave the house. So
Yeah, it was
It was at least on
essential employees. Never, remember?
we deemed everyone essential. Right? No, this is essential. This is essential.
Listen, Governor DeWine,
We're
like,
finding
He helped us
We've been
out.
ours now, but during that time, he was like the first governor that was like, we're shutting everything down, shutting down all the bars, all the restaurants, everything.
That was rough for us.
Yeah, like, this sucks. Like, why are we the first state to get hit with this stuff? But I do specifically remember right around the end of April, I'm like, yeah, man, this isn't going to be as bad as what we think it is. I went as hard as I possibly could. I did a thing in May where I did 31 deals in 31 days. And I bought 31 houses.
I remember that. It was
Every
one after
single
another.
day, I put a house under contract. And we closed on all 31 of them. Best thing I've ever done.
It was like a reset for everybody, though. So it was a kind of a race in the beginning.
Acting in May. And I'm like, once you realize that, hey, it's time to go, you gotta fucking go.
I have less competition right now. No one's working, or they're trying to figure stuff out anyways, too. So
Well, I mean, fast forward to 2023. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you go on,
this is not as
Facebook
bad as COVID, by the way. Like I don't
or
think it is
Twitter.
right now.
everyone right now is loving talking about the banks shutting down, the bank seizures. All the news today was the Credit
Recession.
Suisse.
It's a lot of hype, though. It's not the same as what it was before. It's on different
It's
basis
not.
right now.
It's not.
It's not because of like the housing and all that. It's because
But that's what I'm saying is it's time to go because the other thing that's happened is mortgage rates are down for homeowners are down almost a full percentage point in a week.
they don't talk about that.
No, I mean
It's still the highest. Be careful. Don't. It's like, come on, quit freaking people out.
I mean, so I feel like Terry, that's a great point because we're kind of entering a point to where the brave, in my opinion, will be rewarded. I'm not saying, but people have to understand the brave don't just run out in the battlefield alone.
Takes work.
No, you don't.
Right? You plan it. You take a team.
You don't William Wallace out there. You know what I mean?
Braveheart.
You don't do that, but you're strategic about it. You always make sure you got your downside covered enough. You make sure you got your plan A, B, C, D, and E. Sometimes even F. Just in case those things fail.
We've been to G and H.
Well, there's so much dry powder. Everyone wants to keep talking about all the money that we printed in the last couple of years. Right, we went from 7 trillion in circulation to 14 trillion in circulation. People don't understand. There's still like 1 trillion of that sitting there in bank accounts. Well, maybe.
Xboxes.
It's sitting there, and it's ready to be spent. It's got to earn a return. It's going backwards, and that's why I'm going to New York next week, meeting with a bunch of big people trying to raise hundreds of millions of dollars at a time. Because one stat was there's like $300 billion in private equity just sitting on the sideline right now.
Doing nothing right
They're
now.
just waiting. They're just stacking cash.
Right.
They're the ones probably freaking people out because they want to buy everything cheaper.
No, they're waiting for something that has a predictable return. And anything that requires financing underneath it, like a house.
Yeah.
Right? They can't buy houses. The iBuyers, the hedge funds can't buy houses right now because they don't know what their refinance is going to be at. And if they don't know what their refinance is going to be at when you're buying at a 4% net yield, if rates change 100
Wild to me.
100 basis
right,
points.
but if rates change 100 basis points or 1%, they're done. Like one mark to market puts them out of business.
Who remember that term, basis points, by the way? It confuses so
it's like
many
mortgage
people.
companies. Yeah.
One of my
Say
favorite
percent.
things.
What's with the basis point?
Banker speak.
So this billionaire that I have become really good friends with, one time I said something to him about a BIP, which is a basis point,
BIP.
right? Which is a basis point is 0.01 of a percent for those listening that didn't know, because I didn't know the day before I said it. After I learned it, I thought it sounded really
That
cool.
was yesterday.
Right?
I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'm talking to this billionaire who at that time owned more houses in the United States and the United Kingdom than anyone else on earth.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, he's British, so I have to do it right. He goes, "Hey, Tim, don't talk to me about bips or percentages. You can't buy a Starbucks with that. Tell me in dollars." And I'm like,
Or pounds?
no, he wanted dollars because all his money was in dollars at that point. So, yeah, I mean, we all think about things like that, but ultimately these high net worth individuals, whether you're raising capital from someone or you're borrowing money from someone, they have cash and they need to make money on that cash. And if we simplify it, I think there's still a lot of business to be transacted even in this weird environment.
You know the money's out there because even luxury goods are still an all-time high. Those have been going and going, Certain stuff it hasn't affected as much per se. Everyone's been affected,
the
but
super luxury
yeah.
goods.
And that's the
luxury
money that
goods.
you're trying to go after as well, too, to go bigger. And so that money's still there. You just got to grab it in a way is the way I look at it. And people, even Rolexes nowadays, they're saying it's a better investment nowadays than anything, and they keep going higher and higher. They're skyrocketing. Your watch is worth more now. See? Best investment you made probably last year.
I bought my first watch. What was that? A year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. But it took me 11 years in real estate to actually buy a watch, to actually buy a car, to actually do all this shit. For me, I've seen what 08 did to people, and I never wanted to be that guy.
Right.
And so I've always stacked dry powder. I've always invested in the traditional markets. I've always put money back. I've always made sure that, hey, I've got lots of equity in my portfolio and done all those things for times like that maybe that we're going to go through in the next year or two. To make sure that I'm going to be that guy that's not, hey, man, I got over leveraged. Hey, man, get divorced. Like, I don't want to go through that shit.
But you're also a family man from what I see on your social media, and you also are committed to a long-term strategy in your business. And I'll say this. I don't even know what watch it. You said a
Breitling
Rolex.
Super Ocean. I see what you're wearing.
You said what your Rolex was, and then you talked about his Rolex. I've had this Breitling since Valentine's Day 2014.
Beautiful watch,
and
by
there's
the way.
no watch that I would want other than this one. My wife bought it for me. It's got a red hand because I travel so much that she says points to where my heart is all the time back at
like
home.
that.
Oh,
Right, but I think you bought a watch because you wanted a watch. You didn't buy it
It's
to
not for the
impress
fact. No.
no.
right?
But this was, I wanted the Hulk because it's that money green. It's not super.
It's more sentimental than it is the watch
it's
itself.
right?
Right.
And it's like, hey, I was at a certain point in life where I'm like, you know what, man, I finally have made it. It's not when it doesn't make a dent, it's okay. But a lot of people, it makes a dent because they want to make a dent on social media, and they want to flash and flex on social media.
That's a whole different reason.
It makes no sense to me, man. Because when you're doing it for other people, it makes no sense. But when you're doing it for yourself, that's when it actually.
Right. We have that new word,
Well, what
scambos,
sucks
right?
is
Not a Lambo, a scambo.
Scambos and scam Clarence.
I think so, yeah.
But some of those videos are the ones that get all the views, though. That's what sucks.
Where are they now, though?
Huh?
You don't see many Lamborghinis and stuff on Instagram now. What happened to those guys?
I think in life we all have to balance, right? And for the entrepreneurs out there, it's really easy to get caught up in measuring your success by other people's things. And I mean, from 2018 to 2021, I'm very proud to say I didn't do a damn thing. I sat around and ate barbecue, gained weight, drank beer, hung out with my family, and bought a couple houses a year.
That's amazing. People don't talk about that
and
stuff.
enjoyed it.
They like showing off all the highlights and stuff. They don't show the hard stuff.
Amazing to my Midwest guys. All right?
I know, right?
Sounds amazing.
That don't sound bad at all.
Well, and
Just
so
as long as you had some barbecue wings.
all the time.
Texas barbecue.
Here's the thing, though. What people got to understand is, my wife taught me this: when you know what you don't want, you know what you want, right? And at B2R Finance, I ran all sales, marketing, and business development. And I had people in offices in 5 or 6 states that all reported to me. And so I felt very obligated. I'm one of those, if I take $1 from you, I'm going to manage that dollar like it's my grandpa's, right? Not even like it's mine. It's going to be better than that. Well, when I had all those employees in all those other cities, I felt obligated to be there every week. So I forced myself. So I ran really hard and ragged for Blackstone because I had obligations. So when my buddy Jeff called me about joining RCN, I was really clear. I was like, I live in Dallas. I don't want an office. I don't want to manage people in the other offices.
Yeah.
I don't want to travel for the sake of travel. I have no problem getting on a plane and coming to Columbus for someone that I've grown to like and that I think adds value to my company's mission.
Somebody likes you. Finally. I'm kidding.
Everyone loves this guy.
But I'm not going to fly to our Charlotte office where Sam offices every week, which I used to for Blackstone, to manage a bunch of people, right, to show my face. I'm past that. I don't need a fancy title. I don't need to have a big division of the org chart that reports to me. I'm actually happy to be off to the side.
You have to have a good team that you trust in, though, too. And
You don't.
You have to have a good team, I think.
You don't.
So if you had say Sam, I'm not saying you are, was like mismanaging, running all this stuff, but he's some guy like, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to check him, he's fine, and he wasn't doing his job. You have to go out there and check if he's not doing good.
What box of the cash flow quadrant are you putting yourself in right now? If you feel the need to check on the bosses of the employees.
Managerial.
S.
Yeah. You're in the S.
You're S, man.
Yeah.
All day.
You're not a business owner.
No, you're an employee to your horse.
And now, as I sit here, another thing I tell people all the time, you should occupy as many parts of that quadrant as you can, but only from a point of joy. Like, so I am an employee of RCN Capital. I earn a paycheck. I'm also a business owner of RCN Capital.
You're an investor of RCN Capital.
It's got to balance it right, though.
Right? I'm self-employed in my Airbnb business, right? It drives me nuts. But the reason I do it is it makes my wife happy.
Why are you
Like-
looking at me, bro?
But no,
Because you should have seen, these past few months with Airbnb, you should is.
I saw the Why I Suck at
Oh.
Airbnb video,
Oh, yeah.
right? But
It's-
I do
it's the
too.
worst.
But my wife loves it, and she's good at it. And like at night, we'll go over and I'll move the pictures around where she can pick where I'm gonna have to hang them. But then all of our Airbnbs are near like entertainment areas, and so we'll do that for a couple hours. Then we walk over to the bar and grab dinner and hang out and spend time together. So it's kind of,
That's more different, though. That's like a...
you know, when your wife asks you to go on a walk, but she's not like trying to get you to go on a walk. She just wants you to spend some time with her.
Yeah.
We spend our times at things that are going to make our family, millions of dollars. I hate it. I tell her I hate it all the time.
Let's spend
Some
time
days
together
I'm
and-
she'll send me out to my truck, right? Like kind of like
But it makes her happy.
it makes her happy.
That's what's the most important thing then.
Yeah.
And happy
And it makes
wifey,
my
happy
family
lifey.
wealthy, so
And
it's a good
Airbnb
trade-off.
does
That
not
checks some
make my
good
life
boxes
happy.
there.
Then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? You know what you don't want. So you know what you want. You want something other than that.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the Airbnb market right now?
It's doing very well.
Now, do you think that that's market dependent, or do you think that that's just good operators, or do you think over a whole?
Yeah, because there's so much to that.
Yeah, so that is a interesting question. I think the luxury Airbnb market is doing very well. We'll call it the luxury short-term rental
Okay.
market is doing very well. I think the experience and destination short-term rental market is doing very well. I believe the part of the short-term rental market that may be underperforming is the parts that got boost from COVID, where someone was willing to pay $120 a night to stay at some random 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in some random tract home neighborhood in a suburb, right? Like, so that's why our short-term rentals that we have are within a block of the downtown square. As we sit here in your office, right, there's a bar next door, right? This used to be a house.
For
There's 4 bars. Or
Destination
4,
place, kind
yeah.
of.
Yes.
So if you stayed here, you may have a bridal shower, a bachelorette party, or something like that. We try to stay away from bachelor parties.
Listen, this is a bachelorette type of area.
Remember your Put in Bay
Cobblestone
house?
Street,
Yeah.
You know.
So, like, that's what we're
It
seeing
works.
nationwide.
Yeah.
Like, the places that people want to go for special occasions or special nights are doing very well. Airbnb is a publicly traded company. You can access their quarterly reports. Their nightly rate is going up quarter over quarter for the last 4 quarters. Their vacancy is going down, but their inventory is going up.
Yeah, it's like saturated
That-
because
it's
everyone
not
wants to-
saturated.
You don't think it is? Well, some areas I think.
Okay, so
If it was
Some areas.
saturated, then vacancy would be going up as well.
here, I don't want to talk crap about Columbus, but at least I can tell you what happened in the Columbus market. Everyone that got over leveraged on buying in these fringe neighborhoods
For that
that
reason.
said, you know
That's
what,
what it
I don't
is.
want to lose millions of dollars. I want, you know what, I don't want to
Small
lose any money at
Airbnb.
all. So you know what, I'm not even going to rent it. I'm going to Airbnb,
Airbnb it.
So Columbus went from 1,400 to 2,200 Airbnb units literally overnight.
Right.
And it's not
I
that
was
much of a
36 of
destination.
those.
And we're not as much of a destination.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
Correct.
regionally wise, people aren't coming here
So-
as much.
But it also
traditionally
comes down to
speaking-
But now, in March, we're at 1,900. Okay, so and I'm part of that equation.
Yeah.
Where, I'm like, you know what? We sucked miserably at this. We went at this
Long
way
term.
too hard, and then we had to flip back to long term. So
right.
I lost a lot of money on furniture. It sucks. Got some donations out of it, but some tax write-offs. But I think you're absolutely right to your point that the destination areas, the places that are unique, they're different, right? And they separate themselves, good operators. Yes, it's a great thing. But if you've got that tract home that's in a tract neighborhood, what'd you say earlier? Normal houses in a normal neighborhood.
Ain't gonna
With
work.
normal people.
With normal people. That shit doesn't work for Airbnb.
Right.
That shit works for long term really well.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what it does work for. If you have any of those left, you should really look at this. Midterm rentals. We are absolutely crushing it.
Now,
I hate to
corporate
say
housing or
crushing
what?
it.
Now,
Ah,
for people that are midterm rental, meaning
30 days to 6 months.
okay, so this is like Furnish Finder stuff.
Yeah, furnish finder,
Yeah.
traveling nurses.
Pad split.
corporate housing.
Not pad split.
No.
Well, we've had a lot, especially in these these decent neighborhoods. What we've had a lot of success with is people that their house has a fire, or they're relocating and their new home isn't ready.
Really?
So this is going to be market dependent, right? In DFW, there's still a massive ton of people moving to Dallas Fort Worth every day, and their homes are
Got a
delayed.
busy airport.
Right. And so we had a big freeze on Christmas Eve, and all of a sudden, every one of them was occupied for 2 months. Now, the nice thing is, like, I've got this one house that, on a long-term rental, would do about $3,500 a month. Now, I wouldn't have to pay utilities, wouldn't have to furnish it.
Sure.
On an Airbnb, short-term rental, corporate housing by owner, the best we ever did was $6,500 in a month. When we found the right manager that targeted insurance companies and relocation companies actively, we're now at $12,500 a month.
Wow.
on that one house. Now, he takes a 25% management fee,
Still.
but I don't care.
Yeah.
You don't have to touch it.
And the beautiful thing is, if that thing's vacant for 3 months in between people, I could care less.
And you know
so
what?
good.
You don't have to go there with your wife and change the pictures.
That's right. Well, shh.
Sorry.
Cut.
Edit.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, and also there's less friction on the house. There's less transiency.
Yeah,
happier neighbors.
Neighbors, yeah,
because typically it's a good family from the area
That's
that they're in a crisis and they just need a place to put their children and their dogs while their house is being
all that stuff.
right.
Bingo.
So we've been really fortunate on midterm rentals lately, and so much that other than like the super destination houses, like we have this one. It was built in 1885. It's literally 100 yards from the nearest bar. It's right on the old town square where we live. We get $500-600 a night for it, mainly on the weekends. That house doesn't make a great midterm rental, but it's a Victorian house on 3/4 of an acre. We're starting to get bridal showers and things like that because there's a gazebo and a big yard. They can take pictures.
They can do
A destination home, yeah.
It's a destination,
Yeah.
right? It's an experience is what they call it. It's an experience home. So that one we won't take midterm, but the rest of them we have taken midterm and been very successful, not only in increased cash flow and profits, but also in decreased effort, friction, headache, concern.
Would you say income to headache ratio?
I don't even know that formula, but yes, it's
it
been
sounds
better.
good, right? It
It's
sounds
been
good.
better.
It's been better.
More income, less headache. That
You're welcome,
ratio.
Rico.
That ratio has improved.
That would be good over here though too with Intel, and when like major stuff comes and you have a lot of people that need to move and they don't want to get a house yet but need a place for a
We are already
midterm.
seeing that here. The Intel crowd that's coming in, and they're like, "Hey, I need a place for at least 6 months." Blah blah blah. But
Mostly
now,
contractors
because of
for
the
now.
influx that happened on the market, they're like, well, "We kind of have our pick of the litter because everyone tried to Airbnb everything and take everything off the actual sales market."
Yeah, so we saw a lot of that nationwide, and I'll segue into a little RCN talk. We don't finance midterm rentals.
Dang.
Not even for me. I'm the executive director. The answer is no.
What if they don't start midterm?
And they just migrate.
Yeah.
How much do you like Terry? Come on.
I like him a lot, but I like my wife better, and the answer is still no. But it's interesting. We saw a lot of customers nationwide do what you were saying happened in Columbus. Oh, I'll just keep it, and then it doesn't cash flow on a normal rental. So their answer is, oh, I'll Airbnb it. And their Airbnb math absolutely sucks. They take the highest comp, which is $150 a night, and then they do 150% occupancy, right? And it's like, okay, no, you're not going to make 5 G's a month on that. Like, best case, you're going to be at 3. And you're paying the utilities, and you're paying the internet, and you're paying the cable, and you got to furnish it.
So going deep into real estate for a second, for me, I've been in this business for, we'll call it 12 years, okay? Full-time, 10 years. And one of the things that I found, and I didn't know this early on, it was all cash flow, because I had to pay my bills. Once your bills are paid, you understand this is way more than cash flow. Yeah. It's appreciation. It's debt pay down. Like, I mean, 30-year loans, yeah, cool, they're nice. But, once you get a little bit older, you realize, I need to pay down some debt, too. It's the tax advantages to offset your other income. I call it the salad method.
Here we got the salad.
Spreads, appreciation, leverage, advantages on taxes, and your dividends is the last piece of that puzzle. Because your dividends is like the icing on the cake.
Right.
Right? And so I think too many especially young investors, look at it as just cash flow. Whereas, once you get into this, you're like, dude, I need the internal rate of return. I need these compound interest curves going like this. And then once you start looking at it 5-dimensionally like that, it starts getting wild how much money you really make in this business.
22 years in this business, and my wife and I have never lived off the rental income. I don't know if we've ever touched it unless it's an emergency. Mainly because, I love Woodford.
You're welcome.
Mainly
I thought you
because you don't live off your 401k. You don't live off your IRA. You don't dip into that to pay your
you can't pay your bills with equity.
right. And so we've always looked at it as a way to have someone else pay off our retirement and to let that cash flow, almost like if you want to talk about traditional markets, like a DRIP, a dividend reinvestment program, right?
Boom.
I mean, we take our cash flow, we let it pile up, and then that pays for the next $20,000 or $30,000 down on the next house, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then what happens is, if you're listening out there, please just know, before you know it, that number is a monthly number, and you either A, buy more, or B, buy bigger, and where I'm at in my life, I choose to buy bigger, and I choose to invest in syndications where it's truly passive, where when there's a problem, they call the general partner, not me, and I get a report, and then I can be I can raise as much hell as I need to based off what that report says.
But you're not worried about tenants and toilets. You're worried about if there's a money problem or there's a capital call.
I'm making money off my money. I'm not making money off my efforts.
Well, and so something you said, what, the business is simple if you know the math? Is that real estate or lending or both? And what did you mean by that, I guess?
I think all of it, right? I mean,
Any business.
I mean, I think so many people, number one, the education community in real estate investing is a farce. Our mutual friend Mark Evans, one time, he did a video in the last 12 months about something about, like, if you don't know the math, you're moron or something. It was,
That's Mark.
it was a great video because
Probably did say that.
because so many people, we get these calls. The educator seminar would let out. Your Google Place number starts ringing. I want to buy any house in Columbus. Oh yeah, tell me about it. As long as it's 70 LTV, and you're like, great. I got this pile of crap over here in the worst part of town. I'll sell it to you for 70 LTV, you moron. Nobody else would pay 50, right? And so, like, LTV math is just lazy, right? I mean, so the math is where are you? What are you trying to accomplish? And does that property help you accomplish your goals? So, for instance, the last 3 years, a very big piece of our calculation when buying a house has been bonus depreciation. I haven't paid taxes in 3 years. And if you're up with the IRS and you want to audit me, go ahead. I'm going to hand you a pile of confusing stuff to me, backed by a bunch of CPAs and engineers.
In a very air-conditioned room.
and good luck. I mean, because, like, I follow the rules, and the rules...
We're playing by the rules they set.
But the
rules are set by Congress. We
US
all
tax
own
code.
multiple houses that need to be able to write that crap off.
Yep.
And you're exactly right. And it's like, and honestly, I don't know if real estate would make sense without the advantages for taxes that you get. I'm not sure.
Rent houses don't make money.
Uh-oh.
Doesn't make wealth.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I will say
Trying to rebuke?
they can be tough to cash flow. Absolutely. Now, if you have a house that you've redone, you've rehabbed, it's all set, it's all hardened, right? That's just going to make money for 5 years. But once that 5th year hits, you got CapEx that's coming into play, yeah, you better have a line of credit.
And you better be able to spread and gap out your time cost, because you're either paying someone to manage that or you're managing it yourself.
Yeah,
and in this business, we don't allocate our time.
For sure, and you either have to do it all yourself or you have to have scale enough and you can't be in no man's land. I've been in no man's land in a long time, and that's nowhere to be. You either have to scale your shit high enough to where you have it, or you got to do it all yourself. There's no in between.
There are several publicly traded companies now that own 20 to 80,000 houses, that if you want to see the real math of owning real estate, you can look there. And you can see that the yield, what you make, is very low. And at scale, at true scale, right?
Sure.
88,000 houses.
How many doors?
88,000.
They own every single one of them. 100%.
Yeah, it's, but, and so what happens is you reach this point to where you can kind of effectively manage 10 to 15 of them. And then you get to 20 or 30, and now you've got a full-time admin just keeping up with Did they pay? Did they not pay? Did we send a late notice? This, that. Or I use Renters Warehouse. I mean, they're a national property manager. I'm on a grandfathered deal. I mean, it's a flat fee deal. It's a great deal for me. But it still starts cutting into that $200 or $300 a month cash flow, right? And then if you do factor in the debt pay down, that's where the money is. That's where they're making money. But if you're so many people, I hear it all the time, like
Cash flow.
different training organizations. It's buy yourself 10 rent houses that make $300 a month and replace your corporate income. And I'm like,
Good luck.
Bro, when I came to your event in 2013, I had 16 rental properties. And I had bought another 16 in a triplex in one day, April 11th, 2013. And I literally went to your event, like, I think it was 2 weeks later. And I was like, man, I got like, I think it was like 36 houses, whatever the math is on that.
I'm balling.
And I'm like, dude, I'm balling out of control. I'm like, wait, I gotta go rehab all these fucking places.
and pay for
rehab
it.
money.
And pay for it.
And
manage it.
And manage it.
I mean,
right. Dude, I mean, I cut it very, very close.
I talk to our sales
Very
guys all
close.
the time about, like, I call it the magic hours for an investor. If you want to get a hold of an investor, really from 9 to 11 o'clock in the morning is the best time, because those of us that are operators, our phone starts ringing around 7 o'clock in the morning with the stupid Home Depot calls and the door's locked. I can't find a key.
Lockbox. Yep.
Yeah, right. Like, so from 7 to 9 is we're trying to live that entrepreneurial life and get our kids to school and deal with Home Depot and text and not like get a ticket in the school zone and like, all this. And typically, I don't know. I mean, am I right? Like around 9 o'clock, you kind of get to lean back and you're like,
It's like 9:30.
I love this life, right? Like,
I'm glad that I don't have to do that shit anymore. But like up front for your first like 100, 150, like, dude, you have to do that. You're getting the lowest calls. You know, you're getting the parking zone infraction. You know, you're doing all those things.
right,
But you got to get past that point.
right.
And, you know, I think one of the biggest things, and I want to hear your take on this, one of the biggest things and game changers in our business has been not using U.S.-based employees. It's been using virtual assistants in other countries. And I think that, you know, being more appreciative, work harder, longer, and the pay there is way different than what it is here. And so I think it's almost a hack. And I mean, I remember in 2013 when I worked at Chase Bank, Chase was using all virtual assistants in Manila, in the Philippines. And I was like, I don't want to deal with Manila. I want to get routed to Dallas, Texas.
Their names are all Tom and
Yeah, Tom,
Tim
Dick, and Harry.
Mary.
But I looked at that and I'm like, if they're using virtual assist, why wouldn't we do that, right? So I don't know. I
Do you guys use VAs a lot, or do you not in your company?
I like using offshore people. I won't say VAs or not, because we have a team of, I think, close to 40 full-time employees in India.
Okay.
And we
You
don't
have your own little center or something.
Yeah,
by
but we
itself.
don't think of them as anything other than
As VAs. They're just
employees, because we treat them that way, which makes us different than a lot of companies. A lot of companies
Definitely.
treat their overseas workers a lot less than. And I'll give you a great example. Last year, we took the entire company to Fort Lauderdale for a goal reward trip. And I think we had 300 rooms, something
Wow.
like, yeah, spouses too. And if you opted out, like, we would send you a check for a couple $100. I don't remember what it was.
That's awesome.
Due to a lot of the visa issues and the COVID issues, this was in 21 or 22. This was March of 22. It was going to prove very prohibitive to get the India folks here. So what we did instead was we sent that office to
Somewhere
their
local
own
there.
weekend resort type
In
place
India.
in
Amazing.
India. And it was so amazing because
They were appreciative as heck.
no
too, I
U.S.
guarantee.
company does that.
I don't know. If
They're all done like it's like all a staffing agency type stuff. And the interesting thing is there's a lot of turnover in those overseas relationships, and we don't have that. And the reason we don't is we treat them as they're a part of the team. And every monthly RCN Gazette that goes out to the company, there's a section devoted to our India team.
That's awesome.
And the beautiful thing, the reason we use them is different than the cost structure. We've established a 24-hour clock on our company now. So for us,
They're working when we're asleep.
all day long, our loan officers, our processors, our underwriters, our closers, our U.S.-based accounting people are interacting with our customers, collecting things, documents, bank statements, leases, all of that. Well, then when we all punch out, they get to work. And overnight, they're doing accounting and reconciliation and uploading documents and underwriting and spreadsheets.
By the time someone else comes in, they've already got all these things completed to move them on to the next phase.
So we're on a 10-day work week.
That's why the medical industry used them for a long time too, because the transcription stuff, doctors would always record themselves, then send it overseas overnight, and all be transcribed by the next day, before all the automatic stuff was out, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's how all that stuff even started in the first place. It's pretty big.
So then you guys are establishing, like you said, a track record that you treat all your employees a certain way, right? You said, 2,000 houses, you only got rid of one contract?
Ever.
That's like unheard of.
Yeah. Well, when I say one contract, one that, I'd had options before or whatever, but this was one that I called the agent and said, you can have the earnest money. I'm not closing. Which was hard for me to do. It still stings.
Because especially in capital, I feel like there's so many companies that lend. So how do you separate yourself? How important is really like your track record of saying, we don't back out, we
lose deals.
Renege on some of our.
We lose deals at RCN all the time because if we're a say what we do and do what we say company, we're going to underpromise and overdeliver. And if that means that you take your file to some other lender and they disappoint you, oh well.
Bro, I will say
That
this,
builds
and
loyalty, though.
I do want to say this on camera too, by the way. So you were on our Scalers Only call before this, and you literally shouted out 3 companies, which there's no affiliate, there's no nothing. It's just, hey, I'm not the right fit for you, but this is the right fit for you. You know what's going to happen to those people? They're going to become customers. Because you just gave them the best option.
Yeah,
You're just being honest with them.
I believe in that.
Being
Like
transparent.
part of my superpower is after 22 years in this business, I know everyone and I know everything, and I go around the country and I talk to people, and I'm like, I asked the guy. He said something like, "I don't like the way y'all underwrite something," and I said, "What don't you like?" Like I needed to know because number one, so the Chinese symbol, the Chinese symbol for chaos and opportunity are the same. And that's the way I view everything in my life and in my businesses. If there's something I'm bad at, I want to know. You're not going to hurt my feelings, right? I'm going to take it as a challenge to either get better at it or help you. I tell people all the time when they call our house buying company, I've taught my employees, my people this, is like, it's one of the things I say is like, look, I've been doing this for 20 years. If I can't buy your house, I will point you in the right direction. Right, because if I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, Terry, I need to pay you $100, and you're like, man, I can't take less than $200, I owe $180. I'm going to spend an extra 15 minutes. Like, well, then look, man, if you got to clear $180, you need to, like, I know you like the pink flamingos, but they got to go, right? Like, you got to.
Don't tell Terry about you can't get rid of pink flamingos.
Yeah, right.
No, I will not.
I'm a beach baby, man.
Well, right, but if they've got the
awesome.
6 cats in the laundry room, it's like, send them somewhere else.
I'll pay for the house for a minute.
During marketing, like, I believe in that. I believe that there's been, my success is 1,000,000% attributable to kind men and women that were willing to help me when it didn't benefit them other than being good people. And started at local RIAs.
Yeah.
Eddie Speed, the godfather of owner finance, when I got in this business, was at RIA's hawking books. Like he was just getting in the info business. He had Streetwise Seller Finance, and he'd be at the RIA table in Dallas and just selling his books and not even speaking. You couldn't get Eddie Speed to stand at a table anymore. No. He doesn't even. I don't even know if he knows he still has the book. He's kind of getting old. Love you, Eddie. But him and this guy named Scott Horn and Dean Lantos and Mark Higgins and even these people at Blackstone. Like you treat people nice with respect, and you try to help them, they will help you.
It pays
There's a
tenfold. It comes
there's a
back to you
country
tenfold.
song, I believe most people are good, and that's just the way I've always approached
sings
my
it?
life.
Google it.
The radio.
The radio.
Go, sir. Get on that, bro.
Well, that does build a lot of future. I mean, a lot of loyalty and a lot of people that you build relationships with, and it will pay itself tenfold because you'll always remember that. Like, hey, that person helped me out, and he didn't even get anything from me. That makes somebody want to do something with you in the future.
And I was going to ask you, man, what separates you? Because, everyone I ask about you in the industry, they're like, oh, yeah, I know Tim. Yeah, I know Tim. Yeah, everyone knows you. And so, I was going to ask you, what is your superpower? What has separated you over the last 22 years? And I think you've made it clear as day.
I'm a connector.
You're a master connector. And like Mark Evans,
Yeah.
master connector, right? And the most successful people in any arena are master connectors, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be the doer. You don't have to be the mule. You just got to be the dude that can connect the dots. And you've done a magnificent job of that over many years.
When I enjoy a challenge too, so in the Marine Corps, I was an intelligence analyst. So my job
Can you talk about your job then? Shoot.
I won't talk about what I was working on, but I'll talk about how I did it. My job was to know everything about the enemy and the location that we were going, so I could brief the commanding officers and the attack teams and people like that. And if I didn't know the answer, the worst thing I could do would be make that shit up.
Yeah, not in that.
Because you're getting people killed at that point. And early on, they taught us, if you're in a brief and the general asks a question, you just simply say, sir, I do not know the answer to that question. I will get it for you and have it to you within the hour. And there's just an element of respect that comes with that. And I don't know. I'm just a
lot of
byproduct
military.
of a bunch of decisions that.
But that's a good structure, and I think a lot of
Following
people that
other
comes
people.
from the military get that, morals and the whole structure and all that stuff, and you do it right. I mean, you do it the right way. You don't half-ass it. You don't do it the other way. You do it the right way, or you don't do it.
Right.
And you always try to help people out.
So is that something that you've taken from the military, or have you always just been like that?
I was never always like that because, I grew up. That's another thing I've been trying to tell people more. It's kind of uncomfortable. There's nothing special about me. I come from a family of multiple divorces, a brother that's in prison that had 6 or 7 kids that nobody knows where they are.
Wow.
My younger brother has worked for me. I've had to evict my mother from a house I own. There's nothing special about me, right? It's just a series of choices that I've made that have parlayed over 22 years of making the right choice and putting myself out there and being honest and good.
That is special in itself. That really is. You might not see it, but that's very special in itself.
But anyone
People
can do
aren't-
it. When
Yeah, but
I say
people don't.
special,
People don't,
anyone
though.
can do it.
Right, talented.
Yeah.
Right.
Gifted. But
Right.
yeah.
Not a Harvard MBA, right? No one taught me to do this.
But then you work your ass off too, right? And so that in all compounds.
I do put in the work, and I educate myself. Even last week, I drove my family to Park City, Utah. There was a conference there.
I've seen that.
It was spring break, so I took my son and 2 of his friends up there to ski while I was working. And on the way up, I re-listened to Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. I see his book back there, Leaders Eat Last, one of my favorite books.
Great book. Great book.
I think a lot of people in our industry need to read that. I re-listened to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I'd heard both of those books before. I don't read books; I listen to them, and I wanted to re-listen to them because I feel like I'm at this crossroads in my career to where I need to re-ground myself in some of the base
Back to
principles.
basics.
Yeah, and then everybody kept recommending Tim Grover's Winning.
Dude, I just saw him 4 days ago.
I saw your
you did.
picture.
man.
I saw that picture of you and Tim Grover the day after I finished reading that book. It was kind of,
No kidding.
I was like, my God, this world's connected.
And then you were coming here this week. Yeah.
What a
Brandon.
great book, and what a great book to share with my son, my 22-year-old, who's kind of going through some things in his life right now that could help him with. Because especially how much he idolizes MJ and Kobe, right? And that book's so much about MJ and Kobe.
He trained Charles Barkley, and
Right.
he trained everybody.
And then someone recommended David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me.
I love that book.
I hated it,
Really?
but I listened to all 13 hours of it. I feel like he dogs the SEALs a little bit too much. I feel like it sends the wrong message to entrepreneurs. For me, it is easy to lose track of your family in this business and to make we all start this business saying that the why we're starting is it for freedom and our family, and then we end up neglecting our family and our freedom and our health, for the business, and in the book, David really does talk about, well, Pam and I got divorced, but he never talks about what happened to the kid that they had, right? And me and Kate split up. Well, he never really talks about that. There is a lot of good lessons. So when I was first becoming a corporal in the Marine Corps, which is the first leadership position for an enlisted man in the Marine Corps, I went to this corporal I really respected, and I said, Corporal Dennis, because we were off the coast of the Philippines, it was going to be my first combat deployment, and I said, hey, how do I know I can be a good corporal? What do I need to do? He goes, Herriage, it's easy, man. Take every leader you've ever had anywhere and try to do what they did that you respected and liked, and try not to do what they did that you couldn't stand. Mm-hmm. And I just, that clicked with me. I was like, roger that.
It was a very simple concept.
Right. And so the reason I finished listening to David's book is there's a lot of good things in there about holding yourself accountable. There's a lot of good things in there about pushing yourself. There's a lot of good things in there about working towards new goals and not being satisfied. Because one of the things I did wrong when I was kind of semi-retired was I was way too complacent, just sitting around relaxing. And so I wasn't showing my 13-year-old good work ethic. I wasn't leading by example anymore. My 22-year-old saw me
Do the hustle
busting
before.
my ass, right? And whereas my 13-year-old saw me coasting. And then as a father, you look back and you're like, man, that was the wrong example for him.
Message.
So when I say I didn't like the book, that's probably unfair. I didn't like the way...
certain aspects of it.
certain aspects of it, but I derived significant value out of that. I derive value out of everything. I mean, there's everyone knows something and no one knows everything.
So let me ask you this, man. If you could name your top 3 favorite books? I'm a huge book guy, and I attribute a lot of my success to just being trounced in books. What would you say your top 3 are?
Richest Man in Babylon, because I grew up in a family that didn't have money, and I was never really taught kind of how money works or why it works. And that book just it's so simple. It's this freaking thick, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Everyone we have.
It gets us all, man.
My gunnery sergeant gave that to me when I got out of the Marine Corps. And when I finally read it is when I decided I wanted to be in real estate long term. And I knew that acquiring and holding assets would be key. And my third book is going to sound cliche as hell, but it would just be the Bible. I mean, and even if you're not a Christian, I think if you take things in there as even metaphorical, the lessons of the fables and the cliches, if you will, they're timeless.
That's why it's on top.
Yeah.
Number 1 seller.
Oh, is it? Oh, he said number 1 seller.
Yeah. Hey, it's number 1 seller.
It is
number
globally.
one,
It's not
number
for sale,
red
but
book.
number
For
1
sure.
red.
Yeah. No, I dig that, man. So, leadership lessons. So, as the last 22 years of your life have transpired, what are some leadership lessons you would give the young men that want to make their life better, man? I mean, you went from military, real estate, billion-dollar
everything in between.
All these cool things.
The greatest joy of my life, and it's one of the reasons Jeff, the CEO of RCN, and I really get along well. He has these 2 boys that he raised and did Little League sports, and one of the reasons we waited till December of 21 for me to join the company was I had to finish coaching Little League sports for my 13-year-old.
That's dope.
Because we were, because after 6th grade, then you're done coaching weekend football in Texas. And literally, I think I came to work there like 2 weeks after the last game.
You're ready.
It was time, but the other was irreplaceable. I think, the lessons in Little League football, and we're here in Columbus.
Yep.
2 young men from my hometown of Rockwall, Texas, were stars on the Ohio State football team recently. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who will be drafted in the first round coming up.
Absolutely.
Probably.
And
top
Tanner
one.
McAllister, who is a real estate investor. I'm very grateful you've been helping him and talking to him. And
Absolutely.
I don't even know if you call it mentoring, just sharing, pouring
Just
into
sharing.
him.
Just sharing.
Proud of him. He's already bought a house that he rents out, and he lives in athletic dorms. And
Dude, that's like house hacking 101.
right,
Exactly.
someone
How
else
you
is
become a
paying.
man. Yeah.
Right. So Tanner and Jackson are great people. There's another wide receiver here for Ohio State, Corbin Cleveland from Rockwall.
Okay.
He was a walk-on, great young man. I coached him and his older brother. Probably one of the greatest joys of my life has been a Little League football coach, because you can really focus on the core fundamentals of, show up and be accountable. And so much of America right now, we point fingers at everyone for everything. And I'm not a left guy or a right guy. I looked at you because you're on my left, not because I think you're left.
Then he looked to the right.
I'm not a left guy or a right guy. I'm just an American. I don't like any politicians. I think they're all good and they're all bad at
They all
the
have
same
strengths
time.
and weaknesses, just like everybody.
But I think, the more we as Americans can not blame other people for our problems and just show up. So as a dad, show up. Like, I can tell you, after raising 2 kids, there is no playbook, and you're going to do it wrong. But if you show up, that's like, G.I. Joe, man. That's half the battle.
Half the battle.
What's
right.
speaking of wrongs and stuff, like, what's one of the hardest decisions you've ever had to make in your life, whether it's business or personal, that you think you went through?
I have a very short fuse, and I have shown my backside a little more than I probably should have, especially with my children. Sometimes this, and it's kind of, so many people like me and Terry and other people that try to pour back into the community. The things we teach come from the mistakes we've made, not some,
Playbook.
divine wisdom that we were born with, right? There were so many times, and still are, that I'm busy with work, that I'm an ass to my kids. And like, there's just nothing about any of this that should ever be in front of them and their happiness and my role in their life of being the person they want to copy, right? Like, we always forget, no matter what a great motivational speaker friend of mine named Brian Dodge did this at a soccer game whenever he used to coach youth soccer. He took the kids and put them on the sideline and put the parents on the field and had the parents play a mock game and told the kids to act like their parents. And he was like, there wasn't a parent there that didn't cry. Because the kid's like, oh, you're a disgrace. Hurry up, Dad. You're slow. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but we don't realize we're saying the things we say. And we don't realize they're going to copy us.
You don't realize they're listening.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you think they're listening, but you think they're listening to what we want them to do versus
What
how
they really
we're making
are.
them feel.
Their perception,
right? And so we actually have done that exercise 3 different times in Little League football, and every time, like, you want to make a dad cry, put that dad out there that thinks that he's raising some superstar athlete, and tell that kid to talk to his dad the way his dad talks to him.
Wow.
There's an old saying that says, people may not know or may not remember what you said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel.
And I guess that's leadership 101, right? Like, your employees, your teammates, whatever, like treat them with respect. One of the things I love about RCN Capital, it is a great culture with annual reviews and goals and all that, and a lot of feedback. And Jeff, the founder, is very proud of the culture and the brand. And he has these ice cream socials and Fudgy the Whale, which,
I wanna go. What the heck?
and they're in Connecticut. I mean, it's cold as hell up there.
More ice cream.
No, Ben and Jerry's is in New Hampshire, right? I think that's
know.
close.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's all close. It's like
Yeah.
a different county in Texas.
Yeah.
Fact check us later. We can be fact checked later.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, you culture above all, and it goes back to it's how you make people feel, right? Like, we as entrepreneurs, we have problems of delegation by abdication, right? I hired you to do this, do it, and then we leave. And then we come back and yell at you because you didn't do it the way we wanted you to. Yet we never taught you to do it the way we wanted you to, right? And I've been very, very, very guilty. Why are you laughing?
Yeah.
You do this?
Yeah, I do that shit.
Why don't you do it this way? Well, you didn't show me.
I told you to do that. Yeah, you didn't.
You did.
Oh.
No.
So yeah, I mean, I think if you just try to be the things that you've loved in leaders in your life and avoid the things you hated, and you treat people how you wanted to be treated, the old golden rule again.
Treat people how you
I
want to
yeah.
be treated.
yeah, I think that's the easiest way. And read these books like Simon Sinek, his series, Finding Your Why, Start with Why, Leaders Eat Last. I mean, they're just great. People need to understand you don't need to take away every single aspect of that book. You just need to soak in the principles and then apply them with your personality, right? Like you may not ever be like me as a dad, and I may not ever be like you as a business owner, but neither are right nor wrong, right? Like, it's just we do what we want to do, how we need to do it. We try to follow best practices.
To find your right way.
And you
Everyone's got their own right way.
towards your own skill sets and what you're great at and what you suck at, right?
And I'll tell you, like, to share my flaws, another book, 2 books over from Leaders Eat Last, is Traction by Gino Wickman.
Phenomenal business book.
One of the worst books I ever read for my relationships. Because I blew up a 5-year partnership, like, in chapter 10, right? Because I go in there all motivated, and the book warns it. It warns it. Like, if you keep reading, this may tear up your life. And a good friend of mine, Jason Riney, that had been with me through the Great Recession and had stuck by my side, I was in one of those egotistical type A moods, and I came in, and we're going to have these 3-year rocks, and we're going to this, and we're going to that, and we're going to this, and we're going to that. And he's like, man, I'm not. And instead of taking a beat and talking to him, I forced him out. And it was wrong. But
Hey, you live and you learn.
yeah, can't
Hopefully
undo
you
it.
learn.
I've apologized. I send him a birthday text every year. He
See,
replies
Jason,
about
he's
every other
sorry.
year. But
We've all had those though.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that comes out of it more is just when you can apologize, you realize you did wrong, and there's things we all do wrong, right? I wasn't the right partner for certain people at certain times in my life,
Right.
And like I just gotta own that shit and be like, hey guys, I screwed up. Hey, maybe you weren't the greatest either, but you know what? It doesn't. None of that matters. What matters is I wasn't right.
right.
And so, and it does more for you.
Can you look at me when you say that? Can I hear that?
Absolutely.
He wanted you to say, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
Notice, can you go live on Instagram for a second? On the phone? Thank you, sir.
He wanted you to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, say you're sorry.
You want something
I
to
will
go?
not. Yeah, here, give it back.
So then,
867-5309.
Good
That
song.
is a great one, by the way. Here you go. No, sir. Boom.
so what's next?
I was
What's
actually
next for
getting
you,
ready to ask that.
You or RCN Capital, just in general?
So I actually have an exit plan. My son is in 7th grade. By the time my son gets out of high school, so 5 years from now, I plan to have exited RCN Capital. And that can look a lot of different ways, right? We may find a way to grow the business beyond where it is right now. We may find a way to take it public. We may merge with a REIT. It may remain a family-owned business. But my time there will end. I've sacrificed a lot of my marriage with business and with kids. We talked about this in Phoenix. I mean, it's a big commitment, right? I mean, tonight, what is it? My wife's about to leave for baseball practice. My son's a select baseball player, left-handed pitcher, right? So that's 4 nights a week. Tomorrow he has a track meet and a baseball game, and it's the 18-year anniversary of the day we met. So which one takes priority? The kid.
You kid.
Right? And then Friday
Every
night,
time.
we have to go out to eat to dinner with my oldest because Saturday and Sunday we got to go out of town to a baseball tournament. So I say all that because that's a normal week in Tim Herriage world. And then tonight, here I am in Columbus.
Which we appreciate.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, but the idea is 5 years from now, when he graduates high school, we will have sold all of our single-family properties. Our investments and our equity will be in syndications, multifamily, commercial, triple net lease stuff. I like it, light industrial properties right now. It'll be 100% passive investments. I won't be a GP in anything. And the idea at that point is to live off of this certain bucket of capital that we've been growing and setting aside, and then to target investments that have a 20% IRR. They're out there,
They are out there.
and
I got one to show you later.
the more you network, the more you find them, especially with operators you know, like, and trust.
Yep.
And because at that rate, you double your capital every 5 years. I'm 45 right now, so if I start at 50, and let's just, for easy math, let's say I have $1 million cash.
I love that's only $1 million.
I'm
Let's do easy math.
I'm trying to be humble.
Yeah,
Well, that means when I'm 55, I have $2 million. It means when I'm 60, I have $4 million. It means when I'm 65, I have $8 million. It means when I'm 70, I have $16 million. And so if I can live a lifestyle of traveling and really just enjoying my wife and just I told the kids, like, you're gonna have to find my iPhone on because you may find me in Italy. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna travel. I'm not gonna work. I'm gonna spend my time going on walks and spending time on beaches and enjoying the world and the things that I've worked so hard to create. And then when I'm 70, I figure all the cigars and whiskey will catch up to me, and I'll have to live close to a U.S. hospital. But by then, I'll have the 16 million, so I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So then at that point, you're going to have accomplished a ton of shit. How do you want to be remembered?
God, that's a good one.
Today, I have been communicating with 3 young men that are hoping to be drafted by the NFL next month. And my children seem to respect me and want to be like me and want me in their lives. I don't care if I'm remembered, right? I just want there to be enough people out there that I made feel good or that I helped, that I made the world a better place. I think too many parents and even entrepreneurs try to keep their employees and their children at the same level they're at now, or like, I want to make you be like me. F that, man. I want to make you better than me. Like, my kids, I want them to be so much better than me. I pray that they avoid the mistakes that I've made. I want them to learn to make money with money. I don't want them to be worried about making money with their time. So if they can start that adventure I just talked about at 40 instead of 50, like, that's a success.
That's awesome.
It's very cool. And I'm thinking about this with, my own son and my bonus kids. And, I've had my bonus kids since, they were little kids.
Stop calling them that.
I know they're not
Kids.
bonus kids; they're
They're your
kids.
kids.
But, I came in the picture a little bit later. So I didn't get to experience, years 0 through 6.
Yep.
I didn't get, I changed one diaper.
Right.
Kudos to me. But then
I saw you change one the other day.
I changed.
Oh, he
shit
ran.
ton.
He's
No
like,
pun intended, no
and
pun
ran away. I'm
intended.
like, that's how you get free to do it.
But, I guess for me, I look at, what you just said, and I'm like, man, this is a very, very valuable life lesson. And, I look at how I want to be remembered and what's important, right? And
How do you
like
want to be
said,
remembered? I want to know.
So, a couple things you said that hit home was how did you make people feel, right? How did people feel when they were around you? And how did you leave that relationship better than what you found it? And I think that's very, very important, right? And if everyone can say that about you, like, I'm one of those people that does unfortunately care about what other people think about me. And if you care about how you make other people feel and they leave that relationship better than what you found, I think that's very, very important, man. I think it's an excellent way to be remembered.
See, I found you on social media through, Mark Evans had shared something of yours. And your name was really familiar, but I did not remember you from the expo.
Yeah.
Little big dog in right there. But when you told me that you went to the expo and you had a good time and that it was a good event for you, that means more to me than any dollar amount or comma in my bank account. Because if I'm one small piece of the thousands of people that came through those doors, tens of thousands over the years, of making their life better or their children better or their finances better or maybe change. Ed Milet, his book, The Power of One More, such a great book.
Such a great book.
I am the one in my family. And I think, to answer your question, I would love it if both of my kids were the one as well, right? Like, why does it have to be the one? Like, why can't we make the next generation like the two, right? Like the three, like the everybody. Like, everyone can make a very powerful difference if we do our job.
Sure. Love it. Just to break it, you said what was it? What did you just
Power
say?
one.
Power of
Not
one
the
more.
power of one.
Ones. Make it the
I
power
was
of
going to
ones.
use Tim with the, and I forgot how I was going to do it, but it was going to be sweet. I just didn't capture it.
Have a whiskey. It'll come to you.
How can people find you?
At Tim Herriage, which, if you're listening to the audio version, I promise you'll spell it wrong. It's Herriage. It's like carriage, but with an HE. At RCN Capital. I think it's at RCN_Capital. At RCN Capital. I mean, it's super easy to Google me because I'm the only Tim Herriage.
Good thing for that last name spelling.
Yeah, and
Texas Tim Herriage now.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about RCN Capital, but that's fine because I believe people do business with who they know, like, and trust. And it's really hard to get someone to trust you with that first $250,000 transaction. It's kind of like, I'm not asking you to buy a cheeseburger. It's $250,000 of a debt. So we try to just add value at RCN to people. We give without expectation, right? And that's the idea.
But I also think too, faceless companies are kind of dying out to some degree, and being able to associate a face with a company means the world these days, right? So being able to have you share as much as you did today, very, very grateful, man. And I think that's important not just for listeners, but I think it's important for RCN as well.
Yeah.
Is that they have a phenomenal human being that's literally willing to do whatever it takes to grow this company. So,
And can I give Sam Duda a shout out?
There we go.
Samuel
Samuel with the hair is over in the corner.
Phenomenal.
Hanging out. You let your cigar die out, bud.
He called you out.
Mine's been dead for 20 minutes.
It's all good, man. All good.
No, man. Hey, number one, thank y'all for letting me come out here.
Absolutely.
I love your town. Like, this town is special, and I look at a lot of real estate. We underwrite so to close 8,000 loans. We'll underwrite 20,000 plus this year, right? And every time I can come to a city like this and talk to you guys that actually understand it, it gives me power to talk to our capital providers, right? Because at the end of the day, and I don't know if we have time for this, but at the end of the day, all money is backed by other people's money until you get to the government's money. Like,
That's funny. It's true.
and at that point,
There's our
it's just
snippet
kind of
right
like
there.
made up and mythical, right? So, like, you offer cash as an investor, you're getting that cash from somewhere. Even if it's your money, eventually you're going to refinance or whatnot. I give you a loan, and I either have to get that money from my company's equity or my partner's equity, or sell that loan, or even finance that loan with the bank.
So can I say that all money is borrowed money?
Yes. Even the government's money.
Always been saying that. All money is borrowed money.
Even the government's money. Because it comes from us.
Yep.
We make it to give it to them so they can give it back to us.
Oh, they print it. I'm kidding.
It is gross.
I was at an event
dirty.
last week, and somebody had a T-shirt, and on the back it said "Taxation is theft."
Yeah.
I bought the T-shirt. I'm like, yes.
Did you pay tax on that T-shirt?
I don't pay
And
taxes.
so,
Yeah, I mean inflation. But inflation. I thought we talked about math earlier.
That's a funny math.
It's not. It's guaranteed. You will have
Guaranteed,
inflation.
but
Period. End of story.
You have
Every
to.
year, human beings live longer. We agree with that?
Yes.
So every year, there are more human beings. We agree with that.
yep.
Can you ever imagine a time in the United States of America where we say, guess what? If you work hard for the next 20 years, you can make less money than you started making?
That'll never happen.
Never. So if you always have more people and they're always living longer and they're always working longer and they always have to make more, you must print more money.
But I think there's one part of that equation you missed. You said that people are working longer and harder.
I didn't say harder.
Okay. That's right, you did. You
I
said
did
longer.
not.
You said longer. But what does longer mean? Because they're not working harder.
not in China. They have population
Lengthy.
control.
I'm talking about the U.S.
I'm just kidding.
But they're
that
not
is
working.
true.
They're
That
not
is-
a capitalist society, so it doesn't count. They don't have to pay them more every
Yeah.
year, right? Like we in the U.S., you must real wages must go up.
have
Not
to.
not real wages. That's a technical term. Nominal wages, like the dollar amounts
I
you
agree
pay
with that.
people, has to go up over the tenure of their employment. Not one person here can think that they're going to hire someone at $20 an hour, and
pay 'em less.
30
Pay 'em
years later
18.
they'll make
We'd
less
still be
than that,
making
right?
$3 an hour from high school days.
Shit.
So
Mine was 5.25.
when you look at
Old.
just that math alone, I mean, there are more people in the United States. Next week's the anniversary of the COVID shutdown. There are more people in the United States today than there were before that shutdown.
Touche.
I mean, now, the growth rate did slow down for about a year, but it still went up. So if a global pandemic couldn't reduce, and I don't want to argue conspiracy theory, but if a global pandemic could not slow down the baby making,
There was more babies made,
right,
more
Yeah,
divorces
there really
too,
was.
but
which equals humans, which
Yes.
equals careers, which equals money, which equals
Absolutely.
Participation, yada,
Absolutely.
yada, yada.
it just inflation's a given.
on a serious
It's
note, it
gonna
really is.
happen.
Yeah, you can't stop
Which
that.
means real estate will appreciate, which means you must hedge, or to use normal people language, need to buy things that go up in value,
Which are real estate.
which is the only depreciable item that
Crypto.
goes up.
Crypto.
Stop.
No? No?
Stop.
That's so.
That's another.
funny.
That's
Well, I
another
mean,
take.
probably,
Next episode.
Still.
I mean, we
Terry
just had-
Summers Guru course on selling crypto.
Hey,
No, that's
courses.
Larry
We
Hummers.
just had some banks shut down, so no, I love talking crap about things that don't really make sense. And you know,
One day it
think-
might.
I do think it's wild that people always come out with something that's the latest and greatest thing, whether it's a Scamazon store or crypto, or there's this Forex trading platform that everyone's investing in now. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
One of my great
what
mentors
what
told
makes
me.
sense to me is real assets.
One of my great mentors told me in a very Texas way on Interstate 30 one year, I'll never forget, this was 2004. He goes, boy, stick with what you know. And it's a powerful, simplistic statement, right? Like, most of us grew up in a home of some sort, or in a residential property where there's a kitchen and a pantry and a sofa and a bedroom, right? And it's what we know. So if you're out there and you know how to trade derivatives and bonds and options and equities and all that other, great, stick with what you know. For me, as a simple guy that didn't go to college, I know what it's like to live in a house. I know that food, water, and shelter are the three basic necessities. I know all the farmland's owned by big corporations. Funny story. Everybody says the hedge funds have taken over the real estate market and have made home ownership a dream that Americans can't achieve. So hedge funds started buying houses in 2012. Today is 2013. Can you guess if the home ownership rate in America is higher or lower since that happened?
Higher.
Is it high?
It's higher.
It's definitely higher.
The home ownership rate when hedge funds started buying houses was around 63%. As we sit here today, it's around 65%. What the hedge funds have done is bit into our market share, into the mom and pops.
Investors.
Yeah.
Because every wholesaler needs to make cash flow.
Yep.
And the wholesalers have literally sold them every piece of property they can get their hands on.
Yep.
Because they don't know how to own shit.
Right.
And exactly what we teach at Scalers Only is how to own the land, how to own the property, how to own your shit. And like the one true way I know to get wealthy is to own shit. You can't own a transaction. You can only own transactions for so long.
Own the
And
racetrack.
owning a wholesale business,
You want a job?
dude, it's a job, man.
So, food, water, and shelter, right? The big corporations definitely own the farmland now. Like that's a fact, right? I mean, when water is a corporate business, right? I mean, there's not a lot of mom and pops drilling wells and bottling water, but shelter is still predominantly people that own. So let's see, 65% own their own home, and 50% of the other 35% only own one home. So that's 17%. So that's roughly 80% of the homes in America are owned by someone that only owns one home. So the corporations don't own it. Food, water, and shelter. It's the ultimate inflation hedge.
Tried and true.
Tried and true. Very scalable. It's now been proven whether you want to own one or 80,000.
Finally scalable with technology, right?
Yeah.
True.
I mean, and I'm just an idiot from East Texas. So, I mean, I figure if I can do it, anyone can.
Love it, man.
Are we gonna end on that?
I think we should. I think that's a perfect ending, man. So, people are going to find you on Instagram. People
Yep.
are going to find you on LinkedIn. You're going to be like this, right?
RCNcapital.com.
And then also, too, I think people should hit up RCN Capital for their lending needs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, you have a big real estate audience. We're a nationwide lender. We do fix and flip, long-term rental, and ground-up construction loans on single-family, multifamily, and mixed-use properties in 46 states.
Alaska and
We're
Hawaii.
not in Alaska. We are in Hawaii.
Okay.
We're not in the Dakotas, and we're not in Nevada. We're not in Vermont. Vermont. Both of the houses in Vermont are not financeable. Both of them.
Isn't Bernie from there?
They have a lot of
Anyways.
banking laws that makes it very hard, and there's just not
Ben
enough
and Jerry's
transaction
and
volume.
Bernie.
Thank you so much for coming, though. That was
Anyways,
definitely
thanks,
impactful,
man.
Yeah.
man. Definitely impactful, and shows what type of person you are in the company is and how you guys are structured. That's
great
very
company.
important.
Absolutely, man. You're a great person. There we go. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, bud.
Thank
Absolutely,
you.
man.
Thank
Hey,
you.
until next time, right?
That's right.
Until next time.
Say when.
You're coming back again for another one. I
Say
mean, we
when.
got plenty to go.
Absolutely, man. Cool. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in to Scalers Only, where we talk real estate, business, lifestyle, and everything in between. And until next time with Tim M. F. and Herriage.
Texas Tim, effing hair.
Peace.
Hook 'em horns.